I'm gonna teach you how to get anabolic, and we're gonna start right now. Anabolic is freaking growth. So being anabolic or understanding anabolism is using a metabolic process to stimulate some type of tissue growth. And in this case, it's important that we understand how we can stimulate that tissue growth in our muscles. So first, let's understand that there's 3 specific types of muscular-based hypertrophy. So that first key type of hypertrophy is going to be myofibrillar hypertrophy. And if we can just think about how a muscle is actually made up, there's going to be actin and myosin, which lead to sarcomeres, and those sarcomeres lead to myofibrils. Those myofibrils are then bundled into muscle fibers. And then those muscle fibers are bundled into fascicles, and then the muscle fascicles are then bundled into a giant muscle belly, okay? So if we look at what myofibrillar hypertrophy is, it's essentially increasing the size and or the number of myofibrils. The second form of muscular hypertrophy is going to be sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. And so this is going to be an increase in the sarcoplasmic fraction of the muscle cell. So there's going to be an increase in the aqueous portion of the muscle cell, but there's not an actual increase in the overall muscle fibers. The cell is going to swell, and that's going to lead to greater density or greater size of the actual muscle. So that third form of hypertrophy is connective tissue hypertrophy. And so this is about 20% of our muscle mass is going to be made up of our connective tissue, okay? So if we can increase the size of our joints, of our ligaments, of our tendons, this becomes the foundation of our overall performance. So the ways that we can do this is sets of 50 or 60 leg presses or squats. And then you can also stimulate connective tissue hypertrophy by doing low-level plyometrics for a ton of reps. Think about doing bunny hops for sets of 15 to 20. Now my ankle joint becomes a little bit stiffer, which enables me to have more elastic energy stored when I'm doing plyometric work. So the second key aspect behind being anabolic is understanding hormones and the role that hormones play in actually helping muscle protein synthesis. And that means recognizing and comprehending the impact that IGF-1 has, specifically IGF-1EB and IGF-1EA. One of the key things that I learned from Professor Stephen Cornish is how muscles actually interact with one another and actually interact with your body. And so understanding IGF-1 is used by myofibrils to stimulate satellite cell proliferation. So if you have an increase in nitric oxide or you have some muscle damage, the myofibrils will signal to stimulate and proliferate satellite cells to then donate myonuclei, which is going to help you get stronger and get more hypertrophic and be more anabolic. But it all goes back to understanding the role of IGF-1. And I like to look at IGF-1 essentially as a hypertrophic sensor. So while you're doing resistance-based training, IGF-1 gets stimulated, and resistance-based exercise also stimulates other hormones like IGF-1EC, which is also known as mechanistic growth factor. So mechanistic growth factor enhances muscle protein synthesis, and it also somewhat debunks that 30-minute window, the anabolic window, that you have to have protein within 30 minutes. Because after you do resistance-based training, MGF, mechanistic growth factor, is actually elevated for about 36 to 48 hours, which means in that window, as long as you're getting enough protein, you're going to be anabolic and in turn lead to greater muscular gains. And if you need to get your hormone levels checked to make sure that you can be as anabolic as possible, make sure you check out today's sponsor of our video, Let's Get Checked. Low levels of testosterone can have all types of negative effects on men. It can lead to a decrease in muscle mass, a decrease in your memory, your overall mood, and even a diminishment of your overall sex drive. So it's important that you know what your testosterone levels are and other important hormones to make sure that you're living as happily and as healthy as possible. Let's Get Checked is a worldwide leader in at-home testing kits, and their male hormone test lets you easily test your testosterone levels in the comfort of your home. You can order a testing kit that will be delivered to you in discreet packaging with next day delivery. Once your sample arrives in the lab, confidential results will be available from your secure online account within 2 to 5 days. These results are reviewed by a clinician, and a member of the Let's Get Checked nursing team may call you to review your results. So if you want to test your hormone levels without leaving the comfort of your home, head over to trylgc.com/garage strength and pick up your testing kit for 30% off. Now that your hormones are in check, let's start getting anabolic. So as Brad Schoenfeld pointed out, there's 3 key ways to stimulate muscular anabolism. That first key way is having mechanical tension. Mechanical tension puts forces on the sarcomeres. And so that leads to mechanoreceptors that then activate a specific response inside the muscular cell. And this is all regulated by myogenic pathways. So that second form of adaptation is going to come from metabolic stress. And metabolic stress is going to be more specific towards a type of energy system, and that's going to be anaerobic glycolysis. And that's going to typically happen after about 15 seconds of training, but it's going to occur from 15 seconds to about 2 minutes to 3 minutes, but no longer than 3 minutes. And this adaptation is going to occur from metabolite-induced fatigue. So if I'm doing, a set of 15 to 20 reps, now I'm gonna have that metabolite-induced fatigue that's gonna lead to a little bit of cell swelling, and over time it's gonna lead to hypertrophic gains. And so one of the big factors that we have to understand is that it means the importance of having more time under tension and the importance of having longer duration sets is going to lead to the metabolic adaptation, the metabolic stress. And that's where something like BFR even comes into play. BFR, blood flow restriction, is so effective because it actually induces the metabolite fatigue that I'm suffering from right now. And so if you want me to do a video on BFR, comment down below. Maybe we'll go deeper into some BFR training. So that third thing to stimulate muscular anabolism is going to be muscular damage. And this is going to be dependent upon the type of movement that you're doing. If you haven't done a movement in a really long time, the intensity of the movement, or even the type of action. So if I'm doing a slower eccentric, there might be a little bit more muscular damage, and then that's going to lead to that adaptation. If you want more specific information about how to get more hypertrophic, pick up this sweet book from Brad Schoenfeld, 2nd edition, because they go deep into all of these topics a little bit more than I can in an 8-minute YouTube video. So we've stimulated the hypertrophic sensors from one of the 3 types of different forms of resistance. And now we're gonna go deeper into what you can do to continually improve that anabolism or becoming more anabolic. And that's gonna be going into eating more protein and sleeping more effectively. So to make sure that your body can actually use the right hormones to stimulate that anabolic response, we need to make sure that our nutrition is on point, like eating healthy almonds. Except I'm not gonna eat almonds because they give me an allergic reaction where I have really bad gas and I go to the bathroom.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
But you can eat almonds.
Yeah. Sleep also plays a massive role in your muscular anabolism. So you need to make sure that you're at least getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep every single night, especially after a hard day of training. So we've talked about the 3 types of hypertrophy: sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, myofibrillar hypertrophy, and extracellular matrix hypertrophy, basically hypertrophy around your joints and tendons. We went over how hypertrophy is stimulated in the hypertrophic sensors. So think about mechano growth factor. Don't forget MGF. And then we went over exactly what you can do to be anabolic. Remember, you've got to eat a lot of protein, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, and get 8 to 10 hours of sleep every single night. And if you want to get more hypertrophic, make sure that you follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And if you need a program, click on the link down below. You can pick up a mass builder program to help you get really swole today. And if you want more knowledge, more information, don't forget to check out our Master of Sport podcast to help you get a more swole brain. And remember, if you want to be a freak, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.